Here you will find no esports gods or console war kings. There is only the backlog. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Backlog Brain Rot. This one's a special episode dedicated to Bioshock, the original. With us today is a guest, Addie. You might know him from some of the discords. Say hello.
Hello, hello. Hi.
And then we have a newcomer to the series, Strawhat. Well, newcomer to Bioshock.
Konnichiwa. Now, if you ever told me before I played the game that I would be on a special Bioshock episode, I wouldn't have believed you because I do not usually like shooters, so this was a shock for me, a Bioshock.
Oh, you just had to hit me with that right then. And as you could probably guess, I'm Connor. So, yeah, I'm quite glad for this new phase of Straw Hat's life that we are helping ingratiate him into, of accepting the ways of the shooter game. I am very happy to see where this goes next. Definitely some Halo there in the future, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Start us off today, though, I think it'd be prudent for us to talk about our histories with the game. Why don't you start us off, Addy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bioshock is a seminal game from my childhood. Back in the days of the Xbox 360, I was actually a huge Xbox guy, which, if you know me, you might be shocked about that. But yeah, no, I had the original Xbox console. I had an Xbox 360, so I was all in on Microsoft, and of course, Bioshock actually launched as an Xbox 360 exclusive. So I got it the first day it came out. I was into it, and it's funny in that era of gaming, particularly for me, I was really bad for beating games, like just horrible
Yeah.
for it. And shout out backlog brain rot and just backlogs in general, because man, that has really helped me actually get back on track in general and actually, make it a goal to beat games.
Yes. This has been a new thing in my life as well.
Yeah, right. Well, instead of like trying to play like 100 different things at once and only getting through a couple of them, it's better to focus on, a couple at a time, I feel, and chunk off the list. But the reason I bring that up is because BioShock was one where I actually did beat. And that just shows, I think, the quality of the game and the excellence of it. But it's one where, and it didn't take me long. I think I played it over a weekend and I just blasted through that thing. And it instantly became one of my favorites. It's such a classic. I think it still holds up really great. And yeah, man, it's definitely a childhood memory for me playing this game.
Nice, nice. My history with the game is a much longer startup than that. I think I mentioned this in episode 2 or back on the main series, but the first time I played it, I noped out within, I don't know, maybe I got 5 steps out of the bathysphere at the start. I think I made about 5 steps out of the bathysphere before I just noped right the F out. And then I I really I was really kind of interested in the game. I had been reading G4 and IGN at that time, or whoever was most popular, and I knew it was very highly rated. I love the Art Deco art style on it. That really got me. And my dad had bought it randomly on a Steam sale, so it was there. It's not like I had to put much effort to get it. But it wasn't until like a year later that my little brother was starting to ask if he could play Bioshock. That I was like, I told my dad something along the lines of, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to get through it first to see if it's all right for him." Like, finally, that big brother instinct kicked in, and then it was a process. Definitely not a weekend thing, but I, I I latched onto the wrench and finally made my way through. And for the record, my brother's only like 2 years younger than me, and he was playing games like Onimusha without any like perfectly fine playing Onimusha or any of those gory games when he was like 4 or 5. So
What a Chad.
yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much how I got started with it. And I fell in love with it after that. The narrative and the world and the exploration were awesome.
So, how old were both of you then when you first played it?
Oh man, when did it launch? It was
2006 or 7.
2007, so that would have been 15 years ago ish, 16 years ago. So I would have been Oh boy, just around like 17, 18, somewhere around there. Yeah, long
Yeah.
time ago.
I didn't play it until like 2008. It might have been around the time the PS3 version came out, or right before, or right after. But I was in late middle school, I think. So like 13, 14.
Connor, just to clarify, when you say you noped out, was it because you were like freaked out at the start?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean
The
like
opening of that game is fucking horrifying, so I get you.
yeah, you hear those sounds of the things chasing you behind you. I was just like, I can't even see it. I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to deal with it. Just nope. Out of the game.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so my history is obviously really short because had just recently played it for the first time. The only other time I did try to attempt to play it a while ago. Must be when I first started gaming on PC, or I don't know when it was exactly, but I tried playing it on Steam, but it was through Windows, like the Windows
Oh
store.
yeah.
Oh god,
Windows
yeah, that was
Live.
horrible.
So yeah, that's why I did not. I barely got anywhere. If I don't even know how far I got. If even I didn't even really play it because I just could not stand. Like you'd launch it and it would just be horrible through the Windows store. So I didn't really even get anywhere with it at that
So
time.
brief tangent. I had a phase of my life. This was like, you know how everyone's got that thing in middle school that they're kind of embarrassed about. My thing was the games for Windows Live Store. I was a big proponent of it, and I tried to get games on it because I wanted the achievements on the PC.
Oh no.
Oh
I
man,
wouldn't I wouldn't I wouldn't tell anybody that in a dark alley.
God, I remember. I even like because I had my PC phase back in when was it, like 2010, 2011. That was my big PC phase, and I think it was, I want to say it was Batman Arkham City that had that stupid games for Windows attached to it, and it was fucking horrible. It drove me nuts. I think it was, but it was so annoying, and it actually like made the performance worse. I remember, and there were ways to like disable it
Yeah.
and stuff I had to dig into, but man, it was so annoying.
I was like 13, 14. I didn't know any better. Anyways, sorry to derail you.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I don't really have any. That's pretty much my history. I just so then, of course, with the backlog, I was like going through. I pretty much added all my Steam games on that I haven't played or wanted to play more, and I've been going kind of alphabetical. So obviously, BioShock came up pretty quick, and I have the remasters because I guess if you own the originals at one time on Steam, you just got them for free because I don't
Yep.
remember ever buying them for sure.
Yeah. And the remasters are a little spottier than I expected. That was, I mean, if I went back and played the original, I imagine that wouldn't hold up all that much better since a lot of that stuff was pretty darn janky at the time. But there's some weird problems on the remaster. Like, yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I really didn't notice any. The only thing I had, I played BioShock 2 recently after this, and the game just hard crashed on me when I was in the middle of a splicer fight defending a little cistern. It just crashed when I switched weapons. I'm like, and then I lost like 2 hours of progress. I was not happy about that, or maybe it was
Yep.
just 1 hour, but still, it was very annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
I think,
drive me nuts. Were you playing on Steam Deck, Straw?
No, BioShock I both played on PC because I
Okay.
wanted to play with a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah. I think the only thing I wrote down as far as my notes on the remaster issues was I just summed it up by saying after 6 years, the brightness slider still doesn't work.
Yeah, I remember there was issues with that. I when I replayed it last year, I think. It was last year. Maybe it might have been the year before. No, I think it was the year before. I played the remastered version. And I did notice like some of the lighting seemed a little bit off, but that was really the only issue I had. And I know there was an issue too, something with like the saves, but I never encountered it. So, but I know I remember reading like there's something wrong with the saves. Like I think, you know what I think it is? I think between Bioshock 1 and 2, it basically shares the save system and you can only have a max of a certain amount of saves. So like
Oh,
people were
yeah.
getting fucked and weren't able to save like into 2 or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. Thankfully I didn't encounter it. I guess I just didn't save that much, but
yeah. Thankfully, the rest of the game and the actual design of it still holds up far better than I was expecting it to because I've gone back to quite a few 360 era shooters and that was a time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel clunky. It doesn't
Yeah.
really feel that clunky to me. I mean, like, I'm not really a big shooter fan, obviously, but it felt smooth to play. I didn't really notice anything like, oh, this is from 2007 or 6.
Yeah, it definitely feels ahead of its time for sure in that regard.
Yeah, the movement doesn't get in your way. There's no like weird animation lag with that was something that they tried a lot back then where they would have to like, oh, sync your feet. Of course it's a first person shooter, so you would think that that would never be a problem, but you'd think. So smooth movement, and then the shooting, while not the most precise, didn't like it worked with what it had, and it didn't demand precision from you. So that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed between 1 and 2 is that the plasmids and guns were, like, tied to the same, like, scroll wheel, I think, in the first game, where the second one, they actually made it different, if I remember right.
I do remember it being kind of unintuitive the first time I played, to the point where I think I always used the menu to switch when I first played. But I noticed that the bindings in the remaster were actually pretty nice by default. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I think they use well, on PC at least, they use the F1 keys for the plasmids and the numbers for the weapons, right? I think it was.
Yeah, that's in the remaster by default. So why don't we go ahead and keep talking about any of the gameplay stuff we that really stood out to us?
All right. So for me, I think I really liked how you could do the area of effects stuff, especially with the plasmids, because especially with the lightning or the electric power, just hitting the water and just seeing them all like get electrified and pretty much instant killing them. I just really liked how
Yeah,
the environment was pretty. I mean, it wasn't like destructive, fully destructive environment, but it did have an impact on the actual fighting, which was nice to see.
which is always good in a horror type setting where you want the environment, especially one where the environment is such an integral part of all the elements of the game. You want people thinking about it as more than just boxes.
Yeah, Rapture is so important to BioShock. Um, in general, I think it's one of the best. I mean, it's probably my favorite atmosphere, just world in a video game ever. I think it's incredible. The gameplay stuff, though, I think it's fun. It's definitely fun. I think they did a good job with it. It's not the greatest, but I think
Yeah,
especially for the time, they do some cool tricks with it. The actual shooting itself is just kind of whatever at points, but like Strawhat was saying, it's when you start mixing in the plasmids and kind of using the environment and finding the different ways that you can kind of mix and match your plasmids to get some fun kills. That's when I find the game kind of shines the most.
yeah. And even for me, the part that held up the least was that now that I'm much older and more experienced with action games, the RPG light, or the what am I calling it? Like the perk system and the builds, that I've learned how to completely optimize all the difficulty away, even on hard, with those tools. So it's a pretty darn easy game for me nowadays, but it still manages to be a bit frantic, especially early on, because you have all those limited resources. So you're never quite sure. Like even if you have plenty of bullets to kill a guy, it still gets that little thing in me where I'm going, oh shoot, I only have like, you know, am I gonna have enough bullets for the next guy now? And then just everything's messy.
Right. Do you guys remember what main weapons and plasmids you guys like uh favored toward or mostly used if you could?
I tended to use the wrench first, and then lightning plus the wrench. And then if
Hmm.
those failed, crossbow.
Very nice. I think weapon wise, I think I usually gravitate towards towards like the machine gun, like that Tommy gun kind of thing you had. That was really
Hmm.
good. And then for the plasmas itself, I kind of like the electro the bolt. I thought
Yep.
like just the
It's
lightning
so
bolts was really
reliable.
good. And then I had a lot of fun with the insect swarms too, and just
Hmm.
just kind of fooling around with that. I always thought that was really good. Yeah, there's a lot of fun different combat scenarios you can mix and match in that game.
Yeah, for me, obviously the wrench is like the best thing ever because it's just so powerful and never runs out of ammo. But outside of that, tried to use the pistol a lot, mostly for the splicers. The big daddies, I mainly tried to use the shotgun. I really That's the weapon I upgraded and focused on, was the shotgun, just because it did so much damage. And then as far as the plasmids, I do feel like the electric one's like the best one, but I also did like the incinerate one, just lighting the enemies on fire.
I like that one with the perk that makes it do more damage as you keep hitting them with it.
hmm And I did like the freeze one, but the problem with that is if you freeze the enemies, then you don't get any drops from them. So then it's like, well, there's really
Yeah.
no point in doing this thing because you need resources.
Yeah, when I realized that was actually a thing on it, it was like killed my entire motivation to use that one.
Yeah, I think the only time I ever used the freeze was like when you needed to in the environment to pass through things.
Yep.
Straw Hat, since you've played recently, I'm curious, what was it like when you first encountered the Big Daddy? Because I remember from my childhood, just the first time I encounter him and you realize you have to fight that thing. It was kind of a fight or flight moment for me.
Oh, yeah, I was terrified because I mean, I don't really like playing horror games, but I was like, I can't even remember. I don't think I had the shotgun. I don't think you get it right away when you first beat him. So I probably died like 10 times. I don't know, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. But it's funny because as you play through the game, it's like they're not really a big deal at all. Once you get used to fighting them, you can down them pretty quickly. But yeah, they're very intimidating, they're like my favorite characters in the game. I just think they're so cool and such a great enemy.
There's a reason they're such an iconic design.
Yeah, they really just nailed the design of that one, man. Like you're right, iconic is the only way to put it. Like they still sell figures of those things, man. Like it's so awesome.
Yeah.
As we mentioned before, they made it into PlayStation, or the Big Daddy is in PlayStation All Stars, so
I think Radic made that one.
he better.
And yet we haven't seen PlayStation All Stars 2, so that just shows you the world wasn't ready.
It hurts. Sorry, Radic and Parrot both. I know you both love that game.
I think there's at least a 60% chance that the first time I fought a Big Daddy, I hit it with a wrench. That was likely. But I don't think I was ever like, I was intimidated, but never like, compared to everything else in the world, I think the Big Daddies were actually the ones that made me go, ah, I know what's happening here. This guy's just big and loud, and I always know where he is.
It's true.
So,
They were easy to track.
yeah.
They couldn't sneak up on you. At least not the Big Daddies. The the Big Sisters are a bit of a different story.
Oh, yeah. Bioshock. Yeah.
It's funny because I think in like the second area when I played the first game, because if you don't leave, if you try to leave before you get all the little sisters, it'll be like, are you sure you want to leave, because you need the resources or whatever. So I had trouble finding one, and then I was pretty sure that I had killed a Big Daddy once and the little sister was there, but then like I turned around and she was gone, so I didn't get any credit, so I
Rip.
was so mad. But other than that, yeah, they were easier to find than I thought they would be. After that first time, I'm like, oh, this is going to be rough. But yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
bad at all.
On my replay recently, I was finding that I would enter an area and I don't know what was going on because I do not remember it being like this before, but I'd enter an area and it'd be little sister, killed Big Daddy. Okay, turn around, another little sister, Big Daddy, start it right over again. One time was literally 3 times in a row. And then I turned around, I was like, all right, I have all the little sisters in this area. And then I had the exact opposite glitch you had one time where I found 4 or 5 little sisters in a map that told me there was only 3. And then it gave me the warning that there were more.
Hmm. That's crazy. That's funny because that didn't happen to me in 1, but in BioShock 2 that happened. Like I went to the one area and they just all spawned at the same time. And then of course they all wanted to harvest the same splicer. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to fight 3 of these guys in a row.
Yeah. It was kind of fun though. Actually, I found myself using the machine gun on the Big Daddies more than the shotgun. Didn't remember this either because I used to do the shotgun primarily, but that thing actually shreds the Big Daddies, even with normal ammo.
Yeah, that's why I always made sure to that I had some machine gun ammo because man, those I found they were really good for the Big Daddies. Speaking of the ammo, we got to give some shout outs to the fantastic the shops, the little
Oh
the
yeah.
circus of value.
Yeah,
Gosh, that sound.
that was great. I do like the shops and the healing, and then yeah, you even have the little plasmid ones too. The garden.
Yeah, Eve's Garden, I think it was.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
those were
so.
great. And then if you were saving the little sisters, which if you don't, you're a horrible human being. But if you were saving the little sisters, they'd leave you the little presents by there.
Yeah,
Yep. And then, of course, did you hack much at all in the game?
it's funny because I did not like hacking in this game. I really, it was just so time consuming. I'm like, I don't like this, which they made it way better in the second game. But I hacked a lot at first, but then after a while, I'm just like, I don't want to take the time to do it. So I didn't hack very much.
I had it down to a science. It's just like I'd speed hack every single machine, even if I thought I was going to use it, but never did. It was just like that complete resource brain rot I have with these survival type games, where it's just like, oh, well, I need to make sure to micro optimize my money usage so I don't waste anything. Then I end up with like a full inventory by the end of the game.
Yeah, it's funny because yeah, like I said, I think I only hacked like one camera, which it ended up being a really good one because it was the one where you go. I don't remember what exactly part it was, but it's where you have to wait for kind of like the fumes to like stop going. So you're like in this like bunker
Oh
type
yeah.
area. So you have like the splicers keep coming in. And of course, a Big Daddy snuck in at one point. I'm like, oh come on! And I accidentally hit him, even though I didn't try to.
Did you do much hacking, Addy?
No, I'm never one for hacking mini games. I mean, there are some that I guess are okay. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure there are some that I played that haven't been bad. But for Bioshock, I mean, I did do it occasionally when I had to, or like if I wanted a discount or something because I didn't have enough money. But yeah, for the most part, I left it alone when I could. But I did do like I did like that's actually not true. So it was most I did the robots themselves. Like I would sometimes try
Yeah.
to hack the turrets and stuff like that because that was just useful as hell to have them like fight for me.
Hmm.
So I would do
Yes.
that, but the actual like the shops and stuff like that, no, not so much.
Yeah. And then I think the other element of the game, which is more of a soft element of the gameplay, but the thing that I think has really held up is all that exploration.
So yeah, I think I definitely did like how they kind of directed you where to go. Like I didn't feel like I ever really got lost in this game, which is good. I mean, the map like it doesn't outright like tell you go to this spot. Like sometimes it will give you like an arrow you can follow, but other times it's a little more puzzle solving. Like you got to go to this certain room or something and find this thing. But yeah, I felt like they did a really good job of just naturally leading you around and giving you fun things to do along the way or to see or to hear.
Yeah. And they're very like the map space is very appropriately complex for the environment of all those enclosed underwater city, and there's usually something interesting to find in every like nook and cranny, whether it's a few useful resources or even full on upgrades behind some puzzle of like, oh, you have to go melt this ice, or oh, you have to go shock this thing, or maybe it's just a hidden grate or something like that, where it's never so complicated that it became a huge time sink, but there was always like little things scattered in the edges of the map.
Yeah, I really appreciated that. I really like to like just it always like you said always felt like you weren't wasting your time. Like you'd get something neat. And the audio logs in this game specifically, I'm not usually a big audio log person, but I love how they do it here. Basically, you can grab one, it plays while you're moving around and still exploring. And Rapture itself was just so interesting to me how it was once this thriving city and now it's it's derelict and dead. So I really like the audio logs because it gave you some background and some history and exactly what happened there and what was going on there and like what it would have been like to been there. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's one of the few games I can think of. Well, it's one of the original games that made it popular at the time, but uh, I realized replaying it just how much they had actually worked that into the design of the game rather than just throwing it on top, where there's plenty of downtime for you to listen. There's a nice interface for accessing it, and then they also have it like the things you are seeing in the world are talked about in the audio logs. So there's kind of like this question answer dialogue between the environment and the audio, where you're like, oh, what's going on at this new year, like this party at the bar I'm seeing, and then you pick up an audio log and it talks about the party at the bar, and then what happens at that party at the bar, why it's so chaotic, and then it all builds together, and you are getting this actual weaving of the plots.
Yeah, that might I definitely agree with you guys, and that might be the most underrated and like even best parts of the game are the audio logs because like you said they add so much story and context and typically I won't really listen to that many like especially I think of the Arkham games and I always like to listen to the audio stuff, but you had to pause it, go into the menu and play it and sit there and listen to it that way rather than while you're walking around, which I just do not want to do. Like I did that maybe a few times and then I'm just like, well, I don't really want to sit in the menu and look at the audio log playing where they just do it so brilliantly here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate too because the audio logs in Arkham Asylum are actually really good. And there's some interesting stuff there, but I fully agree. Like it's just it was another way that Bioshock was just way ahead of its time in that regard. The way that it seamlessly kind of integrated that and let you listen to it while you were still exploring.
yeah,
Just a really intelligent way to do it in smart game design.
yeah, and even the little things like if there was like some actual like main plot dialogue, it would interrupt it, but then have it so you just hit the button again when it's done, and it will replay, so it wasn't too hard to get it going again. And then I think a brief mention of the art and music that we appreciated in it would be of worth going over, because as I mentioned, the aesthetic of this game is the thing that I will probably always remember, like first and foremost. That Art Deco design is just so on point, and it's so cohesive and pervasive to every little thing in the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's pretty incredible. And I think if you ask most people who've been gaming for a while and have played this game, what are some of your favorite, most memorable like game settings? Like a lot of people would probably say Rapture. And I think it's rightfully so because it's just the art design and what they managed to do with that is beyond incredible to me. And you mentioned music too. And I think from the very start, you kind of get that score as you're, kind of traveling and entering Rapture for the first time, which entering Rapture for the first time is probably one of the more iconic video game memories, just like etched in my head forever. Just you kind of get that swelling music as you're traveling through the tunnels, and then it's so good, and the score complements this game really well.
We talked about before how the Big Daddy's like an iconic figure, but I mean I think of the same thing of the little sisters because they're so creepy and just the way they talk and are moving around. But I think the most one of the biggest standout scenes to me right away after you enter Rapture is you get to see like a Splicer try to attack a little sister, and then the Big Daddy just comes in and like completely destroys the Splicer, and that's kind of like your first introduction to them. And I just think that scene just that's what stuck with me most of the game. Like it's just such an iconic scene to introduce those two important characters.
Yeah, the I'll go ahead and include like the atmosphere and visuals and all that in the art section of this, but like Addie said earlier, this is one of the most distinct atmospheres in a game. It's just so well done. It's super moody, and it captures both the excitement of that era and also the dark side of it in one go, and it's just incredible. And then I actually don't remember too much of the music, frankly.
I was
Uh,
gonna bring that up too. I really don't. The only thing I remember is the shop music and talking. Pretty much is what I
yeah,
do.
that's pretty natural since it's not heavily melodic, so that's just kind of how your brain goes. Even though if you heard it again, you would immediately go, "Okay, yeah, this feels like Bioshock." But oh boy, all the other audio elements of the game, just the gunshots, the reload sounds, the that little noise every time you start up the hack machine, especially that one since I obsessively compulsively hacked everything. Like that sound work is on point. Everything just like you could tell what was happening at pretty much any time just by listening to what's around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to give like a shout out too for like all the voice acting you do get in the game from the audio diaries, and obviously a very iconic scene with Mr. Andrew Ryan. There's
Yep.
some really good stuff in there in terms of the voice acting, so they did a pretty good job in this game with that as well.
Yeah, that's actually something I think I appreciate more now that I've heard more bad voice acting in games, especially is just like, man, that was some really good stuff. And speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and start talking about the narrative of the game? This is a section that I could probably get stuck on for too long, so we'll go ahead and have Addie start us off again.
Yeah, no, I mean this is what elevates BioShock to me in general. I mean that and the atmosphere, I think. But this is what made me like this game so much as a kid. And it's funny, BioShock, I think, is partially responsible for kind of breaking me away from games like COD and Madden. Because for a long time, that's what I played. My Xbox 360 I had COD, I had Madden, sure I had some other games, but it'd be very rare I would play through story-based
Yeah.
games like that. But this was definitely one of the first big bangers for me where it was like, oh man, like there's some narratives in these games, right? And
Yeah.
there's moments in this game that are just like from a narrative perspective, it uses the medium of video games so well, and it uses them in a way I've never seen used before. And it really excited me and kind of just tapped me even at that young, like, I mean, I was 17, 18 at the time, but I was still growing up and learning video games and stories and games and just stories in general because I wasn't a big cinephile at that point. But it really tapped me into what this medium could accomplish because BioShock is something, there's been rumors about a BioShock movie forever, and I think it's finally getting made, and I'm sure it'll be fine to some degree, or it'll be a disaster, whatever, I don't know. But I'm not particularly excited for that just because I think BioShock so specially uses the medium of video games that it couldn't work anywhere else. Now, obviously, they can adapt the story and make it different, but like I said, there are some things in here that are just so special and unique to me that I love.
Yeah.
It's funny because hearing you say that reminds me. It makes me think of what people thought of the original Metal Gear Solid on PS1, because
Yeah,
that was that
absolutely.
was that
Yeah.
was kind of their like this is what like a mature game feels like with a story like that could be a movie, and with like it's not just a platformer or a JRPG. Like this is something that is like high action, high budget. And so yeah, I wouldn't be shocked hearing like BioShock be compared to Metal Gear Solid like on the 360, because that's pretty much what it could have been and was for you.
It more or less was that console's Metal Gear in a lot of ways, even down to it kind of being that sort of stealthy. It's a loose association, but that makes sense to me.
No, I think it's a great comparison, honestly, because yeah, Metal Gear Solid, that's another seminal game from my childhood too. And I still remember I still remember because my dad had a PlayStation at his house, and at my mom's house I owned a Nintendo 64. So whenever I'd go visit my dad, I would play PlayStation because I just wasn't used to it at the time. And he had Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII and a couple other games, and I remember just going and playing Metal Gear Solid like late at night, sneaking up and playing some more because I was just so enthralled with the game. And there was a part I was stuck at that you actually needed to read the back of the case to get the code.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember that, but
I
Yeah.
do.
it drove me nuts because I couldn't figure out how to beat it as a kid. And when I finally figured it out years later, I was like, "Oh fuck me!"
That was a funny one for me because I was the first time I played it was on PSP through the little emulator there. So when I got to those kinds of sections, I was like, okay, switch the controller. Uh, PlayStation button, go to inputs. I was like, I had to do everything digitally there. It's
Yeah, I
weird,
played it on
kind of
Vita,
fun.
so I don't even remember what they did for that part. I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I'd have to look.
I think
I
Vita
think,
just emulated it through PS1 Classic, so I think you would have probably had to do the same thing, just switch your controller port or
Yeah,
whatever.
must be.
yeah, it's kind of funny how well that held up, even with an emulator.
Yeah, man. You talk about really good like game creators to tie it back into Bioshock. Obviously Kojima with Metal Gear Solid, but Ken Levine, man, like I know he hasn't had a chance to do much lately, but between Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite, he's made two of my favorite video games of all time. He also worked on System Shock, which I've had a lot of people tell me to try that, so I will have to one day. And I think System Shock 2 specifically, I know he was a big part of. And,
Yeah,
that works really well on deck, I've heard. So that is
yeah.
definitely one I wanna look at eventually.
That's another one I'll be getting to. And funnily enough, another game that even though I had already beaten BioShock, I boot up System Shock 2. I didn't even make it through the first door before the game just triggered all of my alarms and made me nope out. It's the fact that the graphic style is even older. It's just that Quake era style graphics just makes, as much as I love Quake, those games terrify me in single player. Still do. Pretty much the only thing that still does.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that because I really don't like horror games, as you guys well know, but this game really didn't bother me that much because Dead Space 1, I played for a few hours and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. The Evil Within, I played like 30 minutes. I'm like, why am I even playing this game? I do not like this at all.
uh, yeah, it's a genre that I'm pretty new to as well. Resident Evil was the first real breakthrough for me, aside from Bioshock. But honestly, Bioshock, once you get going with it, it feels too much like a RPG for it to like be a full horror kind of.
Right. And I think one of the best like narrative directions it takes, and one reason why you feel so comfortable is because you have Atlas guiding you most of the time, and he's like a friendly voice helping you out before obviously he ends up like betraying you later, which is one of my favorite things that they do in narratives. Be like they pull the crutch right out from under you, like this is the guy you've been relying on or your friend that you've been relying on, and then he turns out, oh, he's actually wants to kill you and has been leading you on this whole time to do what
Right.
he wants.
Not only that, the whole "Would you kindly?"
Oh, I love
It's
that.
so it's
Yep.
so brilliant because, you're just the video game NPC doing what you're told, so you don't think much of it, but then you kinda get that reveal and it's like, "Oh, fuck." That's actually really smart, you guys. Blew my mind when I was younger. Like, just blew it to smithereens.
Which was exactly what you were saying earlier about how it was doing something that you can't do in a movie. And a lot of times I think people conflate that to mean interactivity, but I think that demonstrated that can also be like this certain way you process things emotionally that you can only do in that game environment where you spent this time directly following orders from the dude and treating him as your trusted companion, which you would not do in a movie because you just can't. You don't have that same kind of psychological relationship that you do with the characters.
Yeah, the "Would you kindly" moment is still gives me like chills. It's definitely was my favorite moment in the game. It's still like thinking back because it's like I did not notice it at all until Andrew Ryan tells you, and then I'm thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, he did say that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you would never pick up on very likely until it happens. Then you're like, oh shit. And then if you ever replay it, Strawhat, you'll have a running counter in your head and be like, oh yeah, there it is. There it
Yeah.
is. There it is.
Yeah.
Because he does it often.
And the other thing I really liked about that scene coming back was it seems kind of like I always kind of wondered like why is Ryan, this big business dude, like kind of giving up here? Why is he had all this bravado for all this game and then he just kind of lets you kill him. But then once I was listening to the audio logs this time around, I was realizing that there is all this stuff where he like this was the end for him and he knew it. And you get to actually hear it get to that point if you're exploring, which just adds all that much more detail to it. And it's pretty well done. Can't remember the details enough to really summarize it, but yeah.
I also got to say, I really like the final boss fight. Usually, I mean, most boss fights, I guess really the big daddies are mainly the bosses you fight, but I thought the final boss in the game was very well done. I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed fighting him.
That's the biggest hot take I've ever heard. That's a
that's, that's a
good.
surprise.
Yeah, that's a surprise. Yeah, because one of the things I would take out of that game is the final boss fight.
Oh, that's funny. I
Yeah,
guess
no, I don't know what it is about it for me. It just, I mean, I like the idea of it. It just feels kind of out of place to me. I don't know. It never worked for me very well. But I mean, it's never, people really shit on that final boss fight a lot. I don't think it's as bad as people say. I just don't
No.
know if it was needed.
On the replay, I didn't find it to be all that jarring or out of place. It was just I was at that point where I was overloaded, so when I got to the fight, I was just gun the guy down without any trouble. So my thoughts are a little funny on the boss fight at this point because it's just like it was there.
Well, that's so funny. Yeah, I had no idea people hated that boss fight. That shows like how I guess in a bubble I was about the game because and maybe as a non-shooter fan because yeah, I really liked it. I'm like, "Oh, this just fit well." I didn't think anything of it at all.
I love the fact that he looked like the freaking Atlas Shrugged dude, and that you're shooting that. It's like from like a poeticism vibe. That's just like a really fun concept. It's like
That's good
whatever.
though, like that you were in a bubble and you didn't know any of that, or that you didn't obviously know the would you kindly twist. So that's really good to be able to, and especially in this year to experience all that for the first time. That's kind of wild and pretty cool that you were completely untouched on that game.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's funny too comparing it to BioShock 2 because they really like the final boss. They don't really have one, I guess, in 2. So now it does make more sense. They must have heard the criticism because it was more just hordes and fighting three big sisters. So
yeah, yeah. The second one with the gameplay was is interesting.
Yeah, I really do. I know this is about the first one, but just to touch on the second one a bit, the gameplay is, I think, better for sure in Bioshock 2. They definitely did some things and refined it and made it a little bit more fun to play. But obviously, you just lose a lot, basically with the story and the narrative, which made the first game so incredibly strong. So it's definitely a step down for me, but at least it's fun to play.
Yeah, and the thing that I was most worried about with the narrative of the first game coming back was okay. Now I've I'm like what 12 something plus well over 10 years older than I was the first time I played it. And I've learned so much more about like politics and philosophy and all these different ideologies. And that's one of the things I'd heard from some of the people in those circles of like, oh, Bioshock was a good thing, but it misses all this obvious stuff. And so one thing I was worried about coming back was that I would find the details of the story to be a little bit sillier, but that ended up not actually being true because I think people uh, they get too caught up in analyzing how well it portrays like the ideologies that um, inspire it. Like objectivism is the clear, obvious one that Andrew Ryan and Ayn Rand and all that. It's very, very evident. But I think they did a good job of like showing it from a more like realistic point rather than the ideologies where it's just like this isn't just a guy who professes objectivism. This is a human who's trying out objectivism and that kind of thing. And then it's actually, messier than that. And I think it's a much more I guess emotional tale then rather than it being this ideological one, which was fun for me. I don't know how in depth any of you guys get on that, and I could go forever. So I don't know if you had any comments.
I find it interesting in general when games try to tackle more political aspects, and it's generally not exactly what I look for in video games. It's not something I seek out, but I think BioShock is definitely one of the better ones to do it. And like you said, I think it's a very good portrayal, and I think it just kind of shows you. I think it just kind of shows you one man's perspective, and he did achieve something down there with Rapture,
Yeah,
but it falls apart. and I
yeah,
think and I think there's a message to be had in that, and I think especially if you're reading the audio logs throughout, you can kind of see where things go wrong. um, a lot of things go wrong, and I think you're just kind of destined to go that way, but it's very interesting nonetheless to see them tackle that sort of idea, and I really appreciate them for doing that.
Yeah, they don't try to like it's not nearly as ham-fisted as I was expecting on a replay. They don't try to like just straight out say, "Oh, well, this thing's bad. This ideology is bad. This type of people are bad." They more of just make the point. I think I can sum it up to, if I had to say what the theme of the game is that humans aren't cogs in a machine. If you treat them as such, you'll eventually crush their souls for the good actors, and the bad actors will end up abusing the whole thing. So something to that effect. And
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
yeah, since they left it just like they have their opinions, but they don't go so far that you can't like interpret it in different ways. And I very much appreciated it.
Yeah, and I think for me it definitely kept me interested in the game, just the story and his ideologically and in general his thoughts, because it's like I said, normally I wouldn't even really like, most shooters are just lack pretty much any meaningful story whatsoever. It's just bang bang, shoot shoot, advance. But this game definitely, it was just like I wanted to see what Andrew Ryan's vision was, because in theory it should definitely work, but clearly it did not.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting.
Atlas is such a good character for the counterpoint for all of that. He's just even more brilliant than I thought when I first played
Yeah, and it's funny too because when you're doing your first play, at least from what I remember, again, we're talking about
a long time ago.
15, 16 years ago. But from what I remember, I remember like when you first meet Atlas and he's just kind of guiding you around, he's not very interesting to me. He's just like, all right, here's the guy. Like, he's fighting the resistance and he's one of the only ones left. And he wants me to go around and do all this. Yeah, yeah, okay. But then you get obviously the twist and it's like, oh shit, like, no, like, you're actually fascinating. Like, what's going on in that head of yours, man? Like, who are you? And then
Yeah.
you uncover more of him too. It's just it's
I
so remarkably well done.
When I was a dumb teenager, I never caught on to the fact that he was a con artist who had been working this thing for the whole time. Like even before he became Atlas, he was still working on all these different cons and all that was going on. It's just like, oh, what a nice counter character! It's just the con man, the like literally just the baddest of bad actors without being outright evil in a way. It was just like this is the person who wants to take advantage of your system, and it makes so much sense.
He just kind of struck me as like a good-natured goofball that was like a farm boy turned like soldier, just determined with the happening what was going on. So just like, oh, he's, because when he comes in like with the sub, then it like Andrew Ryan messes it up, and it's just like, oh, Atlas, of course you didn't come this time. What'd you mess up this time?
uh, yeah, definitely so much to be said about that game, which is such a rarity of the era for narratives.
Yeah, I think it's what makes it even more impressive. And like you were saying too, Straw Hat, it's very rare you get a first person shooter that, I mean, and they do exist, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock the entire genre, and I'm a big shooter guy too. Like I like a lot
Yeah.
of games. I love Halo too, which Straw Hat will be hopefully getting into very soon. But
Hmm.
it's very rare you get a story that's as nuanced and thought provoking and just incredible as BioShock in a first person shooter. So that automatically made it like one of the more unique games to me because again, when I was younger, I liked first person shooters. It's basically primarily what I played, COD, and even like I remember playing Condemned. That's not a first person shooter, but it's first person perspective, right? So that's basically all I played when I was younger. And for BioShock to take that concept and then apply some like RPG light elements to it, but the B just an incredible story filled with even choice and consequence. Like it's just remarkable for the time. It still stands that test of time today, for sure.
Yeah. And I got something to say about the choice and consequence side of the game, but I will leave that for later. Uh, for now, I will first say I am imagining this alternate reality where Addie was a Doritos Xbox gamer, and it's fascinating. We're probably on the better timeline, but still very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. No, I was really bad. Although funny, although you'll like this one. I know you'll like this one, Connor. One of the first games to kind of snap me out of that nonsense was I bought an Xbox, or I got an Xbox, and it came with like a football game. I forget, NFL Fever, I think it was called. It also came with the Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which we bought separately, and it came with a third game. And I kind of just threw that third, like I didn't throw it away, but like I threw it in like in a drawer. I was like, I'm never gonna play this. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit about this game. That game ended up being Knights of the Old Republic, and I went back
Ha!
to it. I went back to it probably a year later, and that actually really opened my eye to RPGs, Western RPGs specifically. So classic.
Yeah. Very nice.
That's funny because for me, I was thinking about too, because obviously I like JRPGs back even on PS2 and all that, but of course the 360, not known for it, even though we did have some gems. But so I mostly played a lot of NBA 2K on there, which I know Radic would be proud of, even though I don't play it anymore as much. But then the game that kind of got me snapped back to Western, being like, oh, Western RPGs are pretty good. And that was the original Mass Effect on 360, which is, I know, another of your favorites, Connor.
Yep.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bioware, man, they know how to make some good ass narratives back then.
They
Anyways,
they
did. I
did.
was going to say,
they
They
rest
did.
in
Yeah,
peace.
did.
yeah. Bioware of today is kind of sad.
Uh, pain, suffering,
I bought that
emotional trauma.
Andromeda Digital Deluxe Edition
Oh,
full price.
same, same. I bought it on Origin, man. I have a
Me
copy of
too.
Andromeda. Yeah, I
Same.
bought it on Origin. I was ready to go day one. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. I think I played it. I know I never beat it. I think I played it for like, I want to say like 6-7 hours. I'm like, holy shit, this is horrible. I
Oh,
just
I
couldn't.
wow.
did.
Well, you were
I
smarter
couldn't.
than me. I played it for like 20 or 30 hours, and I'm
No,
like, this is pretty good. And then by the end, I'm like, I can't play this anymore. What am I doing with my life?
I
I
just like it
com-
could have gotten better, but the characters, man, like I just
Yep.
couldn't.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
completed the whole game on the first week with all the side quests, and I, at the time, really enjoyed it. But as I thought about it more, I was like, one, I didn't like the characters as much as the previous games, that's for sure. But two, they then just kind of like I knew there was all the technical problems, but I was holding on the copium that they would fix the technical side and continue to expand the story because I was interested. And I was, nope, they dropped it all. That's why screw them. They just threw that game in the garbage bin.
Yeah, I'm
Dang
gonna
it.
be very like this new Mass Effect game that's coming out will be very wait and see for me. Like I have
Yeah.
I hope to God it's decent, but I have zero expectations for it. If it comes out, gets really good reviews, sure. But if not, then I will pretend it doesn't exist. And BioWare doesn't exist anymore either.
I've
Yeah.
already come to believe the old BioWare is dead. It's
Sad.
just gone. But hey, I still haven't gotten through Baldur's Gate, the first one, so I got plenty of I got some BioWare stuff to
Well, there
play
you
still.
go.
Some good classic BioWare stuff.
That's good. It's always good when there's something you can go back to at least. And
Hmm.
for us Ken Levine stands, we have Judas to look forward to now. So there's
Yeah,
something
that's
even
gonna
for
be
us.
interesting.
Yeah, I was even gonna say, like, back to BioShock again, like the one thing about the story, like this story is as good as most JRPG and visual novel stories, which of course are known for their stories. Like this is a game that has a story that's up there with those, where most games, like shooters especially, would not even come close to any of those
Most
genres of
action
touching
games in
their
general.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, let's go ahead and say what our most memorable moments of the game are. This could be it could be story, but I'm also thinking like what was your like what's like a gameplay moment even if you would prefer that.
Yeah, well, story moment for me, I mean, so I'll give you one of each. And funny enough, we've already talked about both.
Yeah.
Story moment is definitely the Andrew Ryan twist. Just again, it's incredible. Like Strawhat said, it gave me chill. It still gives me chills. And I think the voice acting by the person who plays Andrew Ryan is just tremendous in that scene, and
Yes.
it's forever
Absolutely.
entrenched in my head. So
Yeah.
fantastic stuff there.
The obvious pick, but obvious for a reason.
Yeah, obvious pick, no spoiler. And then again, another obvious pick for gameplay moment, and we already talked about it because I had to ask Strawhat. I was so curious, but just for me, that first time you encounter the Big Daddy, that's a seminal moment for me in gaming. I think you were saying, Connor, that a few minutes in, you know the hell out, right? Well, I
Yeah.
think when I first encountered the Big Daddy, I had to fight him. I was like, okay, time for a break, and I did. I probably took like probably had some dinner, and was like, all right, we'll go back to that after and like kind of strategize a plan. So I think those are two of my most memorable moments from the game for sure.
Most of what I remember that first fight was getting like knocked into a bunch of geometry and constantly having weird bugs happen. All right, Straw Hat, what
Oh,
about you?
one more quick thing I want to shout out though really quickly is very start of the game. That's still one. Like I don't know why,
Yes.
but I just remember how incredible the water looked. Like when
Mm.
back then when I was young, like something about that water was like, oh my god, this is the most realistic looking water I've ever seen, and yeah, it was really memorable to me too.
Yeah, that was some really good rendering on that.
Some good water. Has some better water than some games today, even.
Weirdly enough, Donkey Kong 64 has some better water
It does
rendering
have
than
good
I ever
water.
expected from that generation. Like it's got the full deform, like the morphine and all that. It's like, what the heck were they smoking?
The big budget back then, they had to put it in that water.
They definitely been put in the game design. Oh,
Well, we'll talk about that at a later episode
or
or
earlier,
earlier,
depending on
depending
when
when
these come
when we
out.
post this. All right, so for me, we already talked about definitely the "Would You Kindly" part. Just like that reveal is for the story wise was definitely just like the shock value of wow, you've been saying this the whole time, and I never picked up on your speaking habits at all. And then for the gameplay for me, I actually really like the section where I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like the artist guy who wants you to go like assassinate all
Oh
these
Yeah,
random people.
yeah,
it wants you to shut down his haters.
Yeah, pretty much.
it's so good.
That was like my favorite, like just going to all the different sections to fight these crazy people because I think that's where you go to like the freezer to fight the one guy and you have all these like ice frozen people there and you have to guess which ones are alive and which ones aren't. But I really like that gameplay section a lot.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I didn't realize until the replay that he actually that wasn't just like, oh, you went out of your way to go to him. No, he like sidelines the main quest. It's like, no, I'm playing with you now. It's like, oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he like walks down the giant stairwell after you do it and you have to fight him. The
Gosh, that is
giant
such a
staircase.
memorable section. And then I didn't realize that fighting him at the end was optional too.
Oh yeah, I just started chucking things at him, so
Red crosshair, shoot.
yeah.
Yeah, you could totally just walk out of there without saying anything. But I don't like him. Well, I love his character, but I don't like him. So I shot him every time. But
Same.
yeah. For me, I think the most memorable moment was actually gameplay. The first time I was going through in full coward mode, and eventually I discovered the invisibility, and my build was all wrench, and then the invisibility. I was like, great, I'm all set. Well, it kind of a funny thing happened with that where I looking back, I think I made the games even scarier for myself because what would happen is I'd accidentally trigger an alarm and I'd quickly like run to somewhere where there was no direct line of sight, so I go invisible, and then I watched swarms of enemies just pass right by me while I was standing out in the open, didn't know what to do about it, and sitting there just kind of sweating for for a full minute for that timer to go out, and just every time that happened, it was really just an interesting cat and mouse game with that invisibility and the wrench. It's terrifying.
That wrench, man. I did hear about how OP the wrench was before I played it, but even then I still underestimated the power of that wrench.
Yeah, I don't think I realized the first time that you could stack the wrench jockey traits so you could have even more damage on it.
Yeah, it is fun just kind of like turning into John Rambo with a wrench. There's
Yeah,
something to be said for that.
yeah. And then, well, I don't, let's see. You guys have already talked about like the big memorable moments, so I'd say the other one that I tend to think of is near the beginning when you're hunting down that doctor, the plastic surgeon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that guy creeps me out, and that whole sequence is just it's like you're finding out what you're you're listening to him in the audio logs go through this process of turning into a complete psycho who's got to find
Mm-hmm.
like he's done with symmetry. That's too boring, too blasé. He's got to find the perfect, the most interesting human, and he just starts cutting into people to turn them into these living monstrosities. Like, oh, and then that reveal with him through the glass when he's doing his thing. Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah, the first yeah, like the first hour and a half of this game particularly is really creepy and
Yes.
generally scary. They do a great job kind of setting that up, getting you in the world, getting you nice and creeped out. And then, yeah, once you start getting like ammo and weapons and tools, it becomes less scary for sure. But that opening couple hours, there's a lot of creepy shit in there that just kind of stacks up. And
Yeah.
I do remember that doctor in particular, like especially the audio logs, listening to him just kind of going off the rails is it's creepy shit.
It's nice though that even once you got all that equipment and it's no longer very much of a horror game, you still got all that interesting environment with like the garden area and everything going on there, and then the teleporting dudes, and then the part where you turn yourself into a big daddy. Actually, that's probably the thing I remember the most.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when I did my replay of it. Like I don't know why I was like, oh man, I forgot about this. Like this is awesome, and that's
Yeah.
a pretty memorable part too. It's great.
Oh, and that part where you go up to the voice changer.
Now I gotta ask you guys, in any of your playthroughs, have you ever harvested the little sisters?
I think I tried it once on a replay and then just noped out of that one because I hated it.
Mm.
It's just like the problem is, and if I was to like this, I'm very like when I give a game a 10 out of 10, I don't think a game is perfect. That's not what I say when I give a game a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. That being said, I'm still very strict. I've only given out two 5 out of 5s, and this is one of them. But if I was to give like one criticism to this game, like one like thing to kind of levy against it, it's that I just don't think there's ever a point to harvesting the little sisters because you're perfectly fine with the amount of Adam you get if you just save them. You still get a lot, and they give you the gifts too, which you get even more. And I don't know, maybe that's a point of the game, like they want to kind of get that across that like you should be saving them. I'm not sure, but yeah, like it just doesn't feel like there'd ever be a good reason to harvest them other than to see the bad ending, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's really nothing there.
That
This
is a
actually
oh,
oh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
this actually leads into my what I was going to say for the what I would cut from the game is well, less of a cut and more of this part I would change pretty dramatically because I think I realized what it took me a long time to realize what they were even trying to do with the moral choice here. It's just like it seemed like such a random moral choice. Do you want to be a good, do the obviously good thing, or do the obviously bad thing? But like when you look at it as like, oh, treating people as cogs in this very algebraic, that's what the decision is. Do you want to, are you going to treat these little girls as a resource to get to the end goal, which is taking out all of Rapture, or are you going to treat them as humans and then hope for the best as far as your resources go? But because they give that regular every three little sisters, here's a big bonus, which is clearly even more total than you would have had, and three little sisters is like one level. So by the time you get to next Eve's Garden, you got the president again.
Hmm.
So it's like there isn't really a decision to make there. So I would love to see it get reworked where you get just massively more Adam for harvesting them and next to nothing for letting them go. And then instead of it being about Adam, if you are saving the little sisters, like slowly over time, as there's more rescued little sisters, the map would have more stuff for you, more ammo, more food, more other upgrades, things like that. And then occasionally you see a little sister actually put that piece of thing into the environment. That would have been a way more development work. But if I had like the ideal change to the game, that would have been it. And then it could be like if you're doing the harvesting, you become completely reliant on the atom. It's like all of your power, all of your ability to get through the game is based on the atom now.
Yeah, that is a really good idea because yeah, like Addie said too, it's like they don't you have plenty of Adam too. Like, they make like at the beginning of the game, they act like, "Oh, no, if you save them, you're sacrificing all this Atom," but usually by the end, I have more than I even wanna use, like, I don't even use any or that much, but yeah, they should have made it more appealing to harvest them and just make you more overpowered, or even do something like with Mass Effect, like, because a lot of people won't always play as the Renegade option, but you do get special, like they started doing like special prompts for Renegade, or at least it changes certain things in the story, so it at least makes it a little different and can even reward you for doing it. Where here it just seems like, yeah, there's really no point to doing it unless you want to see the bad ending, like you said, which I had never watched. What's the difference in it? Have you guys seen it?
You basically just become like kind of like you're trapped down there and just become kind of like the king of
Kind of
king of
like Atlas was.
yeah, just king of the dead city.
I thought the ending was that you went to the surface still, but since there's no little sisters, you just die this lonely, decrepit man or something like that. But maybe I'm
Oh,
vastly
was it? Fuck,
misremembering.
it's been so long since I played it. So you could be right. Honestly, I'm curious though. You guys talk. I'm gonna Google this quick.
All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's just tying. I see what they were trying to do. I see the vision with the little sisters, but I feel like this is the biggest spot where they ran into a resource limit when they least wanted to. It's just they wanted to ask the player, are you going to see these little sisters as a resource or are you going to see them as a person? Like, and then they have there's a very clear like there is the right choice, but they needed to make the wrong choice really appealing in the moment, and
Hmm.
killing a little girl is by default not appealing even if she looks really creepy.
Right. Especially when in the end it doesn't really reward you that much.
Yeah,
I know for me, I still think, like, I know you did a lot of hacking, but I definitely, like, I wouldn't cut the hacking because I think it was needed, but I would definitely have changed it to make it less time consuming. And they did that in the sequel, so there's really no point in harping on it. But I definitely didn't enjoy it as much because I liked it way more in the sequel and used it all the time because it was so much simpler and quicker to do, where that was the one like gameplay thing in the first one where I was just like, I don't really like this very much.
you didn't build up a reflex to like uncover half the tiles within the first 5 seconds and then have this constant tally going of which piece needs to be shoved where, and so you're
Um,
just like flash moving everything.
I did not, so that definitely would have helped if I did do that.
Dude, I don't know why I got so like I no, I know why I got so good at that mini game. It's because I forced myself to do it over and over and over again. It's just like I don't know why. That's such obsessive compulsive behavior. I didn't
Yeah,
need
so
to.
we were both kind of off, but he actually like so yeah, he kind of like just steals like the kind of the launch code there from the little system, then he launches a nuke basically. So yeah, it's I forgot how over the top it was because I've never actually done it, but I have YouTubed it in the past. But yeah, he just kind of like something like a little like thing floats to the surface, and I think you just launch it off, and it's like a fucking nuke, and yeah.
Lamau. Oh my gosh. Uh mid 20 aughts games and late 20 aughts games and just like ridiculous over the top evil endings. It's like, all right, okay, yep, you could go there. That's yep. I don't know what kind of psychopath would, but
And in other games, you can punch reporters instead.
I love that Mass Effect. Mass Effect, I think, was one of the first BioWare games to do the renegade paragon in an actually appealing way, where it's like, okay, you're good cop or you're bad cop. Either way, you're going to save the universe. You're the hero, but are you going to be reckless or are you going to be
Hmm.
goody two shoes?
Yeah, until
Well,
Mass Effect 3, and then you turn into a raging psychopath.
But even then, man, I still see the vision there. It's just like, yeah, you're a raging psychopath, but the end of the world's there. So, little bit more pressure, maybe a little more understandable to go full psychopath.
it is funny too because this is off topic, but usually the first playthrough I almost always play as like Paragon or the good side, but except in Knights of the Old Republic where I played Sith immediately. I'm like, it is way more fun to be a Sith than it is to be a Jedi. I'm sorry.
No,
That's
I
Bioware like
did
the
same.
psychotic of it.
Same. I don't think I've ever actually done a good playthrough with KOTOR. I've always just done evil. So
Well, they're almost both so cartoonishly like you're either so cartoonishly holier than thou or so cartoonishly evil in those games that it's like kind of takes me out until KOTOR 2, which is what I really like about that one, where you do a good thing. It's like that felt kind of wrong. You do the wrong thing. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah, I still need to play KOTOR 2. Still haven't played it. It's on the backlog.
Oh, it's such a good one. I just replayed it. It's such a mess. I love it so dearly. But Addie, uh, what's what would you cut if you had something else you'd like to add?
oh yeah, just the final boss fight.
Just the
I mean, I don't know if I'd cut it completely. I might change it. Like, I feel like you could do something with the final boss fight to make it better, make it more unique to Bioshock. I also don't know if I'd want it to be just like hordes, like it kind of is in
yeah.
Bioshock 2. So I don't
Ugh.
think that's the solution. So I don't know if I have a better answer if I'm being honest with you. Maybe like an escape sequence. I don't know. There's a few things you could have done, but just that final boss fight doesn't fully work for me.
I feel like what you could have done is like something where you could try to like take him on a little bit, but you'd be severely under-equipped. And instead you had to like explore around and like take down the machine or something, right?
Yeah,
Where you
for sure.
actually integrate the exploration aspect of the game into the fight. That
Yeah.
would probably
I,
be pretty
I
neat.
I always appreciate when they give you different ways to take down a boss. I still remember. I don't know if you've ever played. Either of you have ever actually played it, but Deus Ex: Human
Human
Revolution.
Revolution? Yep, I was
Yeah,
about to mention that one.
love that game, but good lord, like it always pissed me off with the boss fights. And they did actually fix it eventually,
Yes.
which was great. But yeah,
Yes.
in the original one, like you could have this like really stealth build and not kill a single person, but then you get to the boss fight and you have to kill them. And it
Yeah.
was super frustrating.
Yeah, because then if you didn't actually put any points in your combat stuff, then you sucked at killing them. And then I appreciated that Game of the Year edition so much, or whatever they called it, because they actually made it so, oh, hey, you can use your stealth stuff in the boss fights. Great. Now these are interesting.
Yeah, so I was thinking they could have did more like a Metroid Dread, just have like a crazy escape sequence. So actually, most Metroid games are like that, where
Yeah.
you just have to, would you have to escape out of Rapture with everything going, but you could just make yourself really overpowered and like blow through the environment. I still think that's really cool.
Man, imagine if that was the point where they gave you the Big Daddy drill since you had already turned yourself into one.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been crazy.
Not limit to fuel like they do in the second one.
Yeah, it's that kind of takes some of the fun out of the game with that mechanic for sure.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have too much else listed. I had a top three weapons, but we actually kind of covered that earlier, unless someone had something they didn't say earlier about
Yeah.
their favorite weapons.
The one thing I wish, like I did the same thing in the second one, but I always wanted to use the decoy plasmid more, but I just never would. And sometimes, like
Same.
usually when I would use it, it just wouldn't really work for me. Like I tried to use it against the big daddies a couple times in the first game, and they just like ignore it anyway and attack me. Just like okay,
A little bit. So some of the things didn't work so well. So you know what? That gives me an idea. Instead of top three weapons again, why don't you go ahead, Addie, and tell me your most disappointing weapon? The thing that you just got and you're like, why do I have this?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but the fact that the frozen one kind of screws your resources up,
Yeah.
that sucked. So that was definitely one of the more disappointing ones, I think. What is the name of the one that does the
The napalm thingy?
not the napalm one, but the one that like jeez, it kind of does like the like the burst of air.
Oh,
You
the
know what I
gust
mean?
one. Yeah. The
The
air
burst
trap or
one,
whatever.
I can't think of the name, but I
I can't
remember thinking, "Oh,
either.
that's a cool idea," but then using it, it never really worked well for me, and I didn't use it much. So, that would be the other one too, for sure, I think.
Yeah. I think the one that I was like, why? why do I have a flamethrower? Like once you got the electroshock stuff from it,
Oh yeah.
but I was like, why do I have a flamethrower? Like it was kind of too short range for most of the enemies it was good on. And then if you didn't need it, it was just like I could just use a shotgun or something that's going to be a little more efficient. I don't
I
know.
feel like it was just like law back then that you had to have a flamethrower in every first person shooter. So that might be why.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. The only other thing was the proximity mines because
Oh yeah.
those were the perfect idea, but whenever you tried to use them, you just ended up wasting them all because you either set them too close and they blew each other up, or you accidentally walked into them.
Yeah, I would
Or like,
kill myself all the time. That's what I would do. Oh, you know what? Another thing we didn't talk about, I just remembered. What did you guys think of like the camera stuff, like taking pictures?
I thought that was really interesting and I hated it.
Yeah, I tend to avoid that mechanic in video games in general. Um, yeah, funny enough, we'll probably talk about that in Donkey Kong too, but it's I don't know what it is, but taking pictures in games, unless it's like a core part of the game, so it's like, like Beyond Good and Evil or something like that,
Mhm.
or what's the other game I'm thinking of, the horror one, with
Oh
the
yeah,
Oh,
Fatal
Outlast.
Frame, Fatal Frame, Fatal Frame.
airframe.
So yeah, unless we're literally like basing our game around it, I tend to avoid photographs in games. I don't know why. It's just something that's never interested me too much.
Oh
It's
god.
funny because I think it might be the RPG like collector guy in me or something, but I like think I try to take a picture all the time. Like I always have the camera equipped and take one right away, and then I'll just like spam it. But this one, of course, you had limited film that
Yeah.
you had to get. Where in two you didn't
Which I
have that,
really
but
ran out on.
yeah, the bad thing is like it hooked me, but it annoyed me. Like I didn't want to do it,
Same.
but I felt like I had to do it.
Yes, which is exactly where I was when I was like, "Oh, this gives me more damage. More damage means less bullets. More less bullets to kill a person means I have more for ready for later." So that entire OCD part got triggered, and then it got even worse because I had once I got a couple damage boosts and felt good. I was like, "Okay, And then I remembered you get perks if you get the max upgrade on different characters, and that
Mhm.
one of them gives you melee perks, and then I couldn't remember what the other ones were useful. So of course I had to start scanning everything compulsively. So every fight began with me running right at whatever it was, taking a picture with the action shot, hopefully with multiple in the background to get the maximum experience possible, and then quickly trying to switch to a weapon and actually kill the thing. It
Oh,
stops
that's
being a
great.
horror game when you're doing that.
No, it definitely takes the horror out of it.
Yeah. Like, this might not have been the right decision. I am shoving my face head first into everything.
Yeah, weapon switching was kind of like I would. It's like, of course, you have the keys for all of them, but then you can just use the mouse wheel as well. So I'm just like crazily spinning the wheel to try to get to the right one. I'm like, oh no, I spun it too far. Gotta just go around again.
The top level strat is to hit the one key and then scroll down once. And then it's like, bam, now you're at the end of the line. Uh, Alrighty. Well, that's about all I had planned. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap up?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Just a very special game, obviously. And, if you haven't played this and you've listened to this, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but
Yeah.
definitely, I think it's still a good time for a replay, even if you have, because you'll see that it holds up pretty damn well for its age, man. It's a great game, and you still got BioShock 2 is not the best game, but it's still fun to play. And then you've got BioShock Infinite after it, which is just another masterpiece.
Yes. I look forward to Straw playing through that because that's going to
Yes,
be great.
I think Straw's really going to take to Infinite a lot, so it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts.
Some people were trying to get me to skip right to Infinite, but I'm like, no, I want to try
Nah.
them all.
No,
So
no, you should do it too. Like two's not bad enough where you have to skip it, in my opinion. It's just a letdown to me for like because the first game's such a classic, but it plays well. So if it plays
Mhm.
well, that's fine. Play it. It's so you don't skip straight to Infinite.
I think there's some interesting stuff with the story, or at least I remember there being, but I was also a teenager at the time.
Minerva's Den, especially.
And it's not so long that it's really that much of a
Right.
commitment.
Hmm.
Yeah, true. No, true. But then yeah, you've got Infinite, and then you've got two. Well, I was gonna say two. No, you don't. You have one new Bioshock game in development from 2K, which who knows if that'll be any good. But then
Who
you've got
knows?
Judas, obviously. So
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff to be excited for, and from Ken Levine in general, and the Bioshock franchise. So very exciting stuff.
And I have proven that this year is not even too late to play BioShock for the first time in 2023. You can still
Nope.
do it and have a good time.
It's on every major platform except maybe the Switch.
Yeah. No,
Actually,
it's
I
on
think
On
Switch.
Switch?
it
Yeah.
is.
No,
Yep.
the remastered collection made it onto Switch. So.
Dang, but they still can't get a brightness slider on the PC. Dang.
Yeah, I know. The biggest, I think, the biggest gaming shocks of 2023 are Strawhat liking a first-person shooter, and me liking Steins Gate. So it's a
Yeah, I
tie
was
for the
gonna say
tie for the two.
Yeah. Uh, we might
we're
not even.
branching out, Addy. We're growing each and every year.
Yeah, right. No doubt, no doubt. It's good to see.
Next year, we're gonna meet on the farming simulators, and we're gonna just be like cranking those out.
Oh man, hey, no. If we're talking Stardew Valley, they've already got my hooks in that one, man. I'll build a farm with you any day.
Well, see, I was thinking more like the actual farming simulator.
Oh, okay, okay. I've never played any of those, but I spent an unreasonable amount of time playing Euro Truck Simulator. So
Okay, it's
Nice.
similar to that.
yeah, I do have some background there.
Oh yeah, I love the farming sims like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, and I just picked up Harvestella, so I'll probably try that at some point. But I love those games, so I'm already reaching out there.
You'll have to let me know what Harvestella is. I've been curious about that one.
It's on the list. I don't know when I'll play it, but we will see.
I wish I remember the name of this really obscure farming game I used to play. It was like Georgia. I don't think it was Georgia Pacific, but it was like some sort of Georgia developer. They had the peach in the logo and whatever. It was like a 2001 or 1990s probably farming game.
Well, Connor, you've been playing that Sun Haven, right? Because it's on my wish list. I haven't got it yet, but you've been liking that.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I think that'll be it for us today then. It was great having you on, Addie. I think this
Thank
is
you.
the first time we've really done anything. You
Ooh.
and
Yes,
I
no,
have,
it was great. I'm happy to be here.
and I'm sure we'll probably end up seeing you again at some point.
Would you kindly return, Addy?
Well, now I'm forced to. I don't have a choice. My actions have been dictated for me, so I suppose I must.
Just gonna have to take away your humanity. All right. Well, signing off then.
Sayonara.
Bye.